I've noticed the kids are really into the books, and they've been really engaged. And I've noticed that even the boys who typically wouldn't read on a normal basis have come in and say, I finished that book, even before the girls do. And it's usually normal that the girls finish before the boys. So I've actually seen them be more engaged in the books and just want to talk about it, want to talk about, the events and the plot, and it becomes a learning experience because then we get to talk about all the elements of fiction, and it's just really interesting to see, especially the boys, just kind of come alive. One of the biggest problems they have when they first come is that they have to spend a lot of time reading. So when they come, they have a negative stigma about reading. It's a bad thing. I don't like to read. I'm not a good reader. But then when they get these books that come with the group, they're so engaged in the books, so engaged, and it's really good to see that because they have something that's relevant to them, that's relatable, that's readable. Those are my 3 R's, not the reading, writing, arithmetic: relatable, readable, and relevant. And they get those 3 things when they read these books, and it's so amazing just to see them just really want to come alive and talk about it, and all the things that we would typically teach them, especially like elements of fiction or the writing. Those things are all incorporated in the books that they read, so it makes it a little bit easier to talk about because they can relate to it. I think the writing is worth it in the sense that they get to write about their feelings, because typically they don't really get to write about their feelings. It's usually something that's connected to whatever we're doing in class. But working with the group, they get to actually express their feelings, talk about where they're from, talk about experiences they've gone through, which is typically not part of what we do in our curriculum. So just the ease of them being able to express themselves, we can see that come across in their writing. Maybe not, so much for the technique, the writing technique, but we can see them just kind of open up and just expose a little bit more of who they are in their writing. For this group of kids, it's very important for them to be able to just express themselves, because that's another issue with a lot of them. They have a lot of emotional issues that they really aren't comfortable talking about. So when they get into these groups and they're able to just kind of lay it all on the table and then realize that they all come from kind of, the same, working from the same mold, that they're like, okay. They feel a little bit more at ease to talk about it. I think it does help, the group does help them to kind of realize that they're not alone, because they do get the chance to talk about these issues that they normally wouldn't talk about on a regular basis. They normally wouldn't be allowed to discuss it, in a regular class setting, or they'd have a stigma placed on them, So they get to actually come together in this group and talk about these issues, again, that's relatable for them. And it does build a community for them, because then they realize, we do have a little more in common than we thought. So it is interesting to see from the beginning to this point in the year, where we're at the end, where they form this strong community, because now they're all, they all have a commonality. And I've had, several kids, not all of them, but several kids that come back and said, I read that book you talked about, or do you have that book, can I borrow it? And then they'll read it and bring it back to me and say, this was a good book. If I could bring the book group here 2-3 times a week, I would love to do that, because then we know that the kids are actually reading and they're engaged in what they're reading in. And it's not just I have to do this for a class and they don't really get anything from it. With this group, they actually get a lot from it. They get a lot from it. They're actually reading. We can see their fluency increasing. There's just so many different facets of improvement that we see from these kids just from participating in this group and knowing that they're reading these books every week. The group is very student-focused and very student-friendly. And that's one of the things I really liked about the group when we worked with even the more difficult group that you guys worked with before. They loved the group too. They couldn't wait to see LaKoya when she came on Fridays. They were just so ready to talk about the readings and discuss. I mean, it's all relatable. And that's like the biggest thing that I love about the group, is the material is so relatable. And the representatives are relatable to the kids, and they know how to deal with the kids and not, put this label on them like, oh my God, these kids can't read, or, they're so low or whatever. But they come and they bring these material that they feel like the kids can be engaged in and relate to, and they do, and they love it. They love it, and I love it.
Thank you.